Dear viewers, I gladly welcome you. In our last discussion, we highlighted 10 Stoic principles for achieving success in our hectic era. Today, I would like to draw your attention to a hot topic related to toxic relationships that arise from anxious attachment. In our modern society, more and more people are suffering from complex and unbalanced relationships, which ultimately harm their emotional and psychological well-being. These relationships are often based on deep, anxious attachments, a condition in which we rely heavily on other people for a sense of security and self-confidence. When anxious attachment creeps into our relationships, it becomes a poison that eats away at our souls and enslaves our thoughts. Our emotions and trust are tested, and the relationship itself is filled with fear and uncertainty. However, Stoic philosophy offers us wisdom and powerful tools to overcome this toxicity and find inner freedom. The Stoic strategy is based on accepting that some things are beyond our control, including the actions and decisions of other people. Instead of trying to control every situation or demanding that everything happen according to our wishes, we must learn to accept and realize that the only thing we truly control is our own mind and reactions to events. Thus, Stoic philosophy helps us overcome anxious attachments by consciously choosing how we respond to unpredictable circumstances. One of the powerful tools of Stoicism is the exercise of refutatio. It is the process of analyzing and challenging our own disturbing thoughts and beliefs. Often, our anxious attachments come from distortions and unfounded beliefs about what might happen or how we will be perceived by other people. Using refutatio, we can analyze these thoughts and challenge them, look for evidence to the contrary or for other reasons for an optimistic view of the situation. This allows us to reevaluate and reprogram our thoughts, freeing ourselves from anxiety and attachment. Another useful Stoic tool is the practice of separating spheres of control. They propose dividing all things into 3 categories: what does not depend on us and is beyond our control, what depends only on us and is constantly controlled, and what depends on us too, but is not always under control. By thinking about the things in our lives in the context of these 3 areas, we can relieve anxiety about external circumstances by focusing on what we actually have the power to change or control. Finally, the Stoics encourage us to pay attention to our values and priorities. Identifying what is truly important to us helps us detach ourselves from anxious attachments to trivialities and superficial issues, and help us decide where we want to direct our energy and attention. By knowing our values, we can build harmonious relationships based on our true beliefs and aspirations. Stoic philosophy is a powerful tool to help us overcome anxious attachments and find inner freedom in our relationships. She preaches the acceptance that our happiness and harmony are up to us, and offers strategies such as the exercise of refutatio, the practice of separating spheres of control, and focusing on values to help us free ourselves from anxiety and achieve deep harmony and authenticity. As a Stoic, we can find inner freedom and build harmonious, conscious relationships, free from oppressive, anxious attachments. The first step towards ending anxious attachment in a relationship is to recognize and acknowledge your role in the process. As the Stoic Epictetus said, "There is nothing worse than doing what you ought to do yourself and hoping that someone else will do it for you." So, to overcome anxious attachment, we must start with ourselves, recognize our impact on our relationships, and take responsibility for our thoughts and emotions. Strict adherence to Stoic principles can serve as our rudder in this process. We may not have previously thought about how much we ourselves influence how we treat other people and how they treat us. But recognizing this role can be key to overcoming anxious attachment and finding harmony in your relationship. We must understand that our thoughts and emotions shape our attitude towards other people. We cannot control their thoughts and actions, but we can control how we react to them. The Stoics teach us that wisdom lies in the ability to distinguish between what we can change and what we have to accept as it is. In relationships, this means that we must understand that we cannot change other people, but we can change ourselves and our reactions to them. When we realize that we ourselves influence how we treat other people, we take responsibility for our emotions and reactions. We must realize that our emotions and reactions are the result of our inner world, and not external circumstances or the behavior of other people. And only by realizing and accepting this responsibility can we begin to work on ourselves and build healthy relationships without anxious attachment. The Stoics suggest that we practice accepting our thoughts and emotions and learn to let them go when they bother us. We can overcome anxious attachments by learning not to place too much importance on other people's opinions and actions. Instead, we can learn to be self-sufficient and build our own inner strength, which is not dependent on external circumstances and the actions of other people. Being stoic in relationships means we take responsibility for ourselves and our emotions, and don't want other people to control us. We strive for harmony and inner freedom, being independent of external circumstances. And only by realizing and acknowledging our role in this process can we begin real work on ourselves and overcome anxious attachment in relationships. It is important to recognize that our feelings of anxious attachment come from our inner need for control and fear of loss. We worry that our happiness depends on another person and subconsciously strive to control him for fear of losing him. However, as Marcus Aurelius noted, our greatest victory is the victory over our passions. So, to stop anxious attachment, we must learn to overcome our fears and desire to control the other person. We must turn to the Stoic approach, which teaches us to accept the current situation and stop seeking control. Sentimental attachment is accompanied by ambivalence and instability. We allow our emotions and feelings to control us, allowing them to influence our behavior and our mental component. Because of our need to control another person, we begin to feel fear of loss, fear of the idea that they might hurt us or cause us disappointment. Overgrown with fear, we create an unstable platform for ourselves, which often leads to nervous and emotional exhaustion. The Stoics offer another path, the path of expanding awareness and the ability to accept things as they are. They teach us to rely on our inner strength and determination instead of being emotionally influenced by worries and fears. Moreover, they encourage us to realize that our happiness should not depend on other people, but is an inner strength that we must develop and cultivate within ourselves. To achieve true happiness and free ourselves from anxious attachments, we need to gain a deep understanding of ourselves and an awareness of our true desires and needs. Victory over oneself means overcoming our passions and striving for a higher state of self-awareness and self-dependence. When we achieve this victory, we are freed from the emotional chains that bind us to other people and find inner peace and joy. We stop harming others and ourselves by giving up trying to control others and trusting the process of life. Therefore, to overcome anxious attachment, we must change the way we think about dependence on other people and begin to develop our independence and strength within ourselves. This requires work on oneself and internal growth, but the result will be liberation from fear and acceptance of life in its complete uncertainty. Only then can we find true happiness and harmony with ourselves and the world around us. As a Stoic, I believe that our emotions come from our thoughts. This means that it is important for us to be aware of our thoughts and the process of our internal dialogue. According to Epictetus, we are not upset because of events, but because of how we interpret them. From this perspective, to stop anxious attachment, we must reconsider our interpretation of situations and erase negative assumptions that can lead to worry and anxiety. Resilience, as proposed by the Stoics, is based on the idea that our response to external circumstances depends on our inner world and our perception of the world around us. The thought of this, like all Stoic textbooks, may seem complex and not always easy to understand, but at its core is awareness and meaningfulness. So, as Stoics, we strive to develop the ability to be aware of our thoughts and treat them with some distance. We don't just take them for granted, but explore their origins, validity, and implications. We understand that our thoughts can be subject to distortion and error, and we improve our ability to think critically and analyze. We realize that our emotions do not arise from external events, but from our own perception and interpretation of these events. We truly believe that if we can change our perceptions and behaviors, we can change our emotional responses. And this is a key element of our approach to achieving inner peace and confidence. To do this, we learn to remove negative assumptions and judgments that can lead to worry and anxiety. We recognize that our judgments can be distorted and subjective, and so we make an effort to review them and replace them with more objective and rational thoughts. Thus, our main task as a Stoic is not to suppress our emotions or ignore them, but to recognize their origins and work with our thought process. We achieve harmony and balance based on reason and sound principles, and reject negative emotions and reactions that can harm us and our lives. This is not always an easy process, and it takes time and practice to become a true Stoic. However, because of our belief in the power of thought over emotion, we know that we have the ability to transform our perception and internal dialogue of ourselves. We strive for wisdom and peace by not allowing our emotions to control our lives. As a Stoic, I believe in accepting the immutability and fragmentation of the world. In the words of Zeno of Citium, "Let what depends on you be yours, and let nothing worry you, and give up what does not depend on you to fate." This means that we must learn to accept situations as they are and stop worrying about what is beyond our control. Realizing that we cannot change the external world, we can focus on what lies within our control, our internal reaction to events and our behavior. Accepting immutability means accepting that the world is constantly changing and we cannot control every aspect of it. We can choose how we respond to these changes, how we feel about them, but we cannot stop the passage of time or change the decisions made by other people. By giving to fate what does not depend on us, we free ourselves from unnecessary stress and anxiety. Accepting the fragmented nature of the world means realizing that we only see a piece of the puzzle, not the whole picture. We can only have limited information about what is happening around us and in the lives of others. When we realize that our knowledge of the world is incomplete, we become more modest in our judgments and accept what happened as an unpredictable part of the whole. This helps us stay calm and avoid disappointment. Awareness of the immutability and fragmentation of the world helps us find inner peace. When we stop trying to control everything around us and accept things as they are, we find a path to peace and harmony. We are freed from anxious attachment to things that are truly beyond our control. Instead, we learn to cooperate with the immutability and fragmentation of the world, using it as an opportunity for personal growth and development. So, as a Stoic, I encourage us to accept the immutability and fragmentation of the world and stop worrying about what is beyond our control. Only then can we find inner peace and achieve harmony in our lives. The desire for development and self-respect are the core values of Stoic philosophy. Through this philosophy, we learn to value ourselves, develop our own independence, and become more self-confident. One of the main principles of Stoic philosophy is Epictetus's principle of the vertical duty to strengthen oneself. This means that we must try to develop our own inner strength and resilience. Our independence and awareness of our inner world of values allow us not to depend on external circumstances and the opinions of other people. Instead, We build our well-being and confidence on the basis of our own values and principles. Stoic teachings help us cleanse our relationships of toxic and anxious attachments. We realize that our emotions and reactions are entirely up to us, and we can choose how we relate to the world around us and other people. One of the main aspects of Stoic philosophy is finding harmony and mutual well-being. We realize that only mutual understanding and acceptance of ourselves and other people can lead to true harmony in our relationships and society. We learn to be more tolerant and accept differences with understanding, because each person has his own beliefs and values. Letting go of dependence on other people and becoming independent in our thoughts and decisions helps us build strong and sustainable relationships with ourselves and other people. We learn to react more adequately to events and remain calm, thanks to which our relationships become more harmonious and filled with meaning. Thus, Stoic philosophy encourages us to develop our own independence and value ourselves. It helps clear toxicity from our relationships and creates space for harmony and mutual well-being. Like a Stoic, we can become more confident and aware of our goals and values, which leads to better relationships with ourselves and others. To end anxious attachment in relationships, we Stoics start by taking responsibility for ourselves and our thoughts. We realize that our reactions to external events depend on our internal psychology, and therefore we cannot blame others for our emotions. We know how to control our thoughts and choose how to respond to them. Next, we need to let go of the desire to control and worry about other people. We realize that we cannot change others and influence their actions. Instead, we are focused on being the best version of ourselves. We accept others as they are and do not demand changes from them. We also revise our interpretation of situations. We understand that the world will not always live up to our expectations or desires, and that's okay. We learn to accept change and adapt to circumstances. We look for the positive in any situation and strive for development and growth, instead of wasting energy on complaints and negative emotions. Finally, we value and develop ourselves. We realize that our own soul is the most important and valuable substance we have. We invest time and effort in our own self-improvement, reading, studying, growing. We strive to be independent and self-reliant, so we don't have to rely on others for our happiness. As the Stoic Marcus Aurelius said, "Nothing belongs to a man more than his own soul." This awareness helps us find true peace and become free from anxiety and toxicity. We learn that our inner well-being is not dependent on external circumstances or other people, and we can enjoy life no matter what happens around us. Dear viewers, today, in our important and productive conversation, we discussed a topic that has great implications for our lives: how to end toxic relationships caused by anxious attachment. This issue is one of the key problems we face, and it is important to find a solution to improve the quality of our lives and our relationships. Knowledge and understanding of Stoic philosophy and teachings plays an important role in achieving these goals. She teaches us to find strength within ourselves, control our emotions, and develop emotional stability. We've covered a variety of strategies and practices that will help us end toxic relationships and create healthier, more balanced relationships. If you value truth and purpose, please show your support by clicking the like button and subscribing to our channel. We will try to continue to share with you valuable knowledge and information that will help you become a better and more confident person. Also, don't forget to click on the bell icon so you don't miss our new videos and current news. With gratitude to each of you and with respect for your individual aspirations and growth, see you again.